Hello everyone, I am Jason Rubin from Naughty Dog, and I'm here to talk about our upcoming new game, Jak 2. Jak 2 is the direct sequel to Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Over the past 2 years we've been working on this title, trying to make it as best as we possibly can. We really enjoyed the cartoony and bright world of the first game, but for this one, we decided to make it a bit darker for a more mature audience. Jak is no longer a silent protagonist in this game. For the first game, we decided to make him immune to try and immerse the player in Jak. But we later realized that was a bad idea because he didn't have much of a personality, so here we decided to give Jak a voice, and I think it really gives him a lot more character. Daxter is still his old lovable self, he's still the typical wisecracking sidekick. For this world, we wanted to stray away a bit from the kind of world from the last game, and make it more futuristic and science fiction. The setting is also a lot darker than the last game. See, in the last game, it was very bright and colourful, and we love that aesthetic, and some of that is still present in this one. But we wanted to tell a much darker story, so the world itself is a lot grayer and depressing. But despite being a more mature title, we still wanted to keep the same cartoony style, with a lot of character to still appeal to the same audience who enjoyed the first game. We didn't want to alienate them too much. Like, say, the design of the metalheads, the main enemies of the game, can be a bit grotesque at times, but they still fit into this world nicely, and the way Jak goes about killing them isn't all bloody or realistic like in GTA. It still has the same sort of effect as the last game, in the sense that it's still for a younger demographic. While it is a more mature audience, it's still a game suitable for most ages. We wanted to tell a much more involved story this time around. In the first game, yeah, there was a story, but it was very simple and most of the characters didn't have any character. They were just there to give you quests and such. In Jak 2, every character is heavily involved in the story and they all play their own roles. This game is set in a new setting known as Haven City, this dystopian, futuristic city run by a corrupt leader, Baron Praxis. When Jak and the gang first arrive here, Jak is imprisoned for 2 years before Daxter breaks him out. There is a very big sense of good and evil, as with most games. Jak is now out for revenge on the Baron that imprisoned him. Jak now has a darker side, he's a lot more angry. While Jak was in prison, they were doing these horrible experiments on him with Dark Eco, and now he has the ability to transform into this monster. To try and get to the Baron, Jak joins a city rebellion known as the Underground, who are all trying to dethrone the Baron. Part of Jak's character revolves around him trying to get revenge on the Baron for the experiments that he made Jak undergo, and as the plot progresses, he learns more and more things about the Baron and his motives. So revenge is no longer his main motive, rather it's just to stop a corrupt leader and save the city. We did this to make sure that Jak still seems like the same hero he was in the first game, instead of just an all angry guy, so the player feels like this is the same character they played as in the first game. As well as the Baron, he also has to stop the ongoing threat of the Metalheads, the main enemies of the game, who are ruled by the Metalhead leader, and his identity is a big plot point later on in the game. The enemies in Jak and Daxter, for the most part, looked all cute and cuddly and could be taken down easily with like a hit or two. In Jak 2, the enemies actually look menacing and there's a real emphasis on the combat. Jak has a gun in this game instead of it just punching and kicking. He still has all his old moves from the first game, but there's a big focus on combat because we wanted to make it more involved instead of just running, kicking, and then moving on like in the last game. We've taken a lot of inspiration from some of the big games nowadays. We've made a sandbox style world like Grand Theft Auto where the player can just take it at their own pace and do the set missions in mostly whatever the order they like. There is still sequencing for the more important story missions, but for the most part the player is given freedom to do whatever they like. And there's even some hoverboard mechanics similar to the Tony Hawk games. We really wanted to appeal to a mass market with this game, and I think a lot of people will really enjoy this. Now that we are working with the PlayStation 2, it gives us the ability to create worlds. Like we did with the first game, there are no load times in the whole game. We wanted to make sure this was still a massive aspect as to not ruin the immersion of the experience. The animation is also still a big aspect of controlling Jak. When controlling Jak, the player can string together any number of his moves and they will all transition into each other seamlessly and smoothly. We wanted to make the animation a really important aspect of the game because it helps keep the immersion of the player, and with the power of the PS2 it really allows for it. And that's it from me. I've been Jason Rubin from Naughty Dog, and Jak 2 releases October 2003.